Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're having a fantastic Thursday, fantastic week. I just wanted to do a couple of trade recaps, three of them actually. One over the pound yen, one over the euro pound, and one over the euro USD. So, in my mentorship that I do with people on a one-on-one basis, a lot of the times I get a question, can I use this method that you trade with on the lower time frames? Because I classify myself as predominantly a swing trader. And the simple answer is absolutely yes. And I'm on the Euro USD is a perfect example of how I break down the market and show you that method, that approach, and the logic behind the technical analysis just between that. Or behind that rather. So let's get into the charts. The first one that I'm going to go over is the pound yen, because I also had a lot of questions about this today, because I posted it on my Instagram. If you want to follow me on Instagram, feel free. You can find the link to that, or the link to that on my YouTube homepage, or you can just simply type in Instagram Dan Sanborn and I should pop up. You can't really miss the mustache. It's although the beard's coming out, so for winter, because it's getting colder and colder here in northern Nebraska. So okay, so the pound yen, like I was saying, a lot of people questioned why I shorted at the top of this huge bullish candle that was almost 300 pips in size from low to high. And the reason is the simple reason is it filled my levels, the first area of levels. Now I've since taken profit. I'm not in this trade at all anymore, and the reason is I'll explain it. A couple of reasons. But first, at the bare core of it, you can identify this market structure as a downtrend because we violated. 147 was my line in the sand. And once we started punching below that, we've put in a couple of lower highs. And in fact, I shorted this from 152.45.3. I'll never forget that because it's my largest trade to date of a little over 1,000 pips. I shorted right here and I took profit essentially down here, right over 1,000 pips. And I'll put the link to that up in the corner, one of these corners. So, but since that trade has been finished, I haven't really taken any pound yen trades because I've been waiting to see what it was going to do a little bit. And it has since pulled back up into some nice structure. You can see we are kind of in like a little area that acted as a demand zone once it was initially broken here. You can see it was retested here and here, kind of chopped through, but you can see the strength of the candles needed to punch through that. So there's a lot of orders in and around here, and usually when you get supply and demand levels, you get explosive moves in either direction, either bullish, bearish, or just straight breaking through. In these cases here, you can see these strong bullish candles that just bust through this. Quick little pullbacks and then continuation. Here's a bearish candle that pretty much punched through it. But since we are in a downtrend, I felt like this may hold. And it lined up pretty nicely with some of my approaches to the market. Fibonacci, structure, channels, that type of thing. So if we're looking at these fibs here, you want to kind of make sure you're validating your fibs, your fib sequences, and making sure that you're not just simply doing high to low, which is, I don't want to call it a mistake because it's not, but it's just, it's all a mathematical approach to the markets, and if you're validating your fibs appropriately, you can get pretty precise entries and exits and all that stuff. So quick validation. You see we got a nice perfect 50% retracement here, and that just smashed down through our profit targets for that leg there. So if we're extending that down to the bottom, you can see blew right through the 50%, so don't even really need that on the chart because it totally ignored it. But once it tagged that 61.8, that was right in the middle of that zone. On top of that, if we're looking at our more recent impulsive move, you can draw that, and literally sitting on top of that is the 78.6 fib retracement for that impulsive move. So a lot of fib validation there. Dropping it down to the 4-hour chart, right up here you can see price, once we bottomed out here and failed to go lower, we started kind of initiating a channel structure here. The bottom's kind of ugly, but using our 2 points here and extending that on, you can see that intersection right in all that confluence, and that's where I shorted up in here at 145. 45 I think is where it was, 145.45, essentially right there. It was in the wick of that daily candle. It took a little bit of drawdown. It did push up just a hair in the aftermarket hours after the New York session into the overnight hours, but had nice follow through coming out of those levels. Now, why am I not still in it? The reason being is we are kind of at a decision point. We have several main little trend lines just above where I entered yesterday that also have pretty nice confluence. So I didn't want to just expect this to be the top, or maybe a lower high in the grand scheme of this whole market structure, but because there's a lot of attractive areas up here that can be magnets essentially. So we pulled back down, and essentially as we were retesting this level here, we have some fibs on these structures here that can act as resistance or support on the backside. So I wanted to just take my profits. It was a quick trade, 100 pips. So that was the pound yen. So it stands to see. We're gonna sit on our hands for a little bit and let the market wiggle a little bit and just see what it intends to do. It wouldn't surprise me to see this zone eventually break impulsively, maybe fill these levels up here, and then maybe work its way down. Although this is a very strong zone historically, so this may be the top, and I may miss out on the next impulsive move down. If that's the case, I'm just going to wait and find my entry elsewhere. Probably once we break down out of this little channel structure that's forming, maybe look somewhere there, maybe look for a little double top or something. We'll just have to wait and see. Kind of running out of time here, so let me get into the other trades. Euro pound, beautiful trade, over 100 pips as of right now with that. So I started on the weekly chart with this, and you can see a heck of a lot of sensitivity up here, a lot of supply, huge wicks, meaning a lot of orders, a lot of supply up here. This wick here is almost 500 pips, I think, from top to bottom. Can't really see that, but it's a big wick. Dropping it down on the daily chart, you can see just that level that I had marked off from the weekly chart way back here. To me, that really kind of initiated this whole move. I mean, this whole move here was a year-long downtrend. We got a quick retrace, not a quick, this is the weekly chart, and then a next explosive move down. Very strong level. I had my eyes on that, and the confluence in and around that area was beautiful. So fib-wise, again, let's do some validation here. If we clearly grab the impulsive move here of this move here, you can see a pretty nice 50% retracement right down, smacked its first profit target right on the head. So that to me is a nice valid fib. I'm going to draw that down to the low there. So in and around there, remember fibs are just levels. You know, they're single price points in time, so it just essentially creates a zone for me. My main interest was that main key level that I had marked off, so I wanted to look at that and find confluence in and around there. So let's drop it down to the 4-hour chart and come from the other side. As we were, let's see, 4-hour chart, you know, once we started violating some of these structure levels here after our lows, remember this is that negative 23.6 from our initial leg, or our initial impulsive move down. That was the bottom, and then we failed to retest that or go lower, and then pushed up, started breaking some structure. So on this side, for fibs, you know, I'm going to be looking to validate some of these. You can see those profit targets were lining up pretty nicely. Both of them were hit, you know, dragging those up. Let me find where I did these real quick here. I believe so. Okay, so one thing that I also like to look for is the impulsive move that really truly violates the level. So this is kind of what I was looking at here. To me, this, and I think I was on the daily chart. That's what's mucking me up here when I did all this. Yeah, so coming out of this here, once, you know, we see a double top there, the violation really kind of, to me, initiated here. You know, that's where the bears stepped in, had a quick little pause there before price really started breaking these structure levels. So I wanted to kind of grab that and look and see how these fibs were lining up, and they seem to be respecting pretty nicely. And if we drag it up to after this last impulsive move, which retested this little supply area here, we get a absolutely on the nose perfect 50% retracement straight up to profit target, and then a quick retrace, and then that second profit target for that lined up absolutely perfect with that major key level. And in addition to that, once we broke out of there, we kind of started forming a little channel top here, and you can see that, you know, dragging that from the bottom there, something like that. So that was where I shorted, and that's where I took profit as we were coming back down into this little supply area, which, remember, supply and demand are very strong levels. They're very order heavy, and they can act as strong moves either or. I want to get into euro dollar real quick because I took a quick nice little day trade on this. Main structure levels here, we got some broken trend lines, but we were stuck in this range for a little while. But you can see doing the same thing, fib validation, perfect 78.6 fib retracement rate down, smacked our profit targets pretty nicely. Dragging that down, yesterday we had a perfect 78.6 fib retracement off that from this supply zone down to our low. Perfect. So this was a day trade, remember, so I'm on the hour and 30-minute charts here for my day trades. So once we kind of initiated this little breakout here, coming off, I missed that perfect entry there. I'm grabbing some fibs to see how these are lining up coming out of the levels of my original levels of interest. And you can see we get a perfect 78.6 fib retracement off of that, this high to low, and then punch down a little bit. Now I'm dropping down to the 30-minute chart even more. I missed that entry as well, but once we saw this second retest and the dump off of it, man, this is the 30-minute chart, so I fibbed that, quick spike back up into some confluence and some levels I had up in and around here. I think I just grabbed a little zone there. We can see some wicks. I entered here. Stop was just above this little spike high there, so it was about 20 pips or so. My stop loss, somewhere around there. And as we punch down into these lows, these profit targets down here, profit target 1 and 2, and also we're retesting that trend line that was broken, that's where I took my profit. That was a quick 50 pip trade, Gonna sit on my hands as well for this to see what happens. I hope this helped. Take care, guys.